So, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, classmates. I am Karen P. Tolentino. My report is all about behaviorism. So, what is behaviorism? Behaviorism is an area of psychological study that focuses on observing and analyzing how controlled environmental changes affect behavior. So, history of behaviorism. A basic understanding of behaviorism can be gained by examining the history of four of the most influential psychologists who contribute to the behaviorism. So, Ivan Pavlov, Edward Thorndike, John B. Watson, and B.F. Skinner. So, these four did not each develop principles of behaviorism in isolation, but rather built upon each other's work. So, according to Ivan Pavlov is perhaps most well known for his work in conditioning dogs to salivate at the sound of a tune after pairing food with the sound over time. So, Pavlov's research is regarded as the first to explore the theory of classical conditioning. Classical conditioning that stimuli cause responses and that the brain can associate stimuli together to learn new responses. So Pavlov's work with conditional reflexes was extremely influential in the field of behaviorism. His experiments demonstrate three major tenets of the field of behaviorism. So first, behavior is learned from the environment. The dogs learn to salivate at the sound of a tune after their environment presented the tune along with food multiple times. So, according para kang Pavlov, ang behaviorism is nakatunan siya through environment na uh, ang iyang gigamit ang iro nga tagadungog sa makadungog ang iro o pill. So along with that is naipagkaon siya nga madawat. So iha nang gina experiments every time nga mag-bill siya nga naipagkaon, so murag ang ang iro nagkatuntod siya nga every time nga makadungog siya tune, makakaon to dayon siya. Behavior must be observable. Pavlov concluded that learning was taking place because he observed the dog salivating in response to the sound of a tune. All behaviors are a product of the formula stimulus response. The sound of a tune caused no response until it was associated with the presentation of food, to which the dogs naturally responded with increased saliva production. So, siyang kuan. So, ang tingog sa bill is wala siya bili kung until nga wala gipartneran ni so until nga naa siya gipartneran na pagkaon. So, the behavior sa erong every time makadungog ton manang naana siya nabutan siya unang-una nga na-enjoy pagkaon siya nga madawat. So, Edward Lee Thorndike is regarded as the first to study operant conditioning, or learning from consequences of behaviors. He demonstrated this principle by studying how long it took different animals to push a lever in order to receive food as a reward for solving puzzle. So he also pioneered the law of effect, which presents a theory about how behavior is learned and reinforced. So one experiment Thorndike conducted was called the puzzle box experiment, which is similar to the classic rat in the maze experiment. For this experiment, Thorndike placed a cat in the box with a piece of food on the outside of the box and timed how long it took the cat to push the lever to open the box and to get the food. The first three times each cat was placed in the box, there was little difference in how long it took to open the box, but subsequent experiments showed a marked decrease in time as each cat learned that the same lever would constantly open the box. A second major contribution Thorndike made to the field is his work in pioneering the law of effect. This law states that behavior followed by positive results is likely to be repeated, and that any behavior with negative results will slowly cease over time. Thorndike's puzzle box experiments supported this belief. Animals were conditioned to frequently perform tasks that led to rewards. So para kang Thorndike, ang iyang behavior nga nakuan is um, every time nga naay kanang naay mabuhat na maayo, or example sa bata na siya mabuhat na maayo, so every time nga na siya mabuhat na maayo na siya madawat na mga reward. John B. Watson. John Brodus Watson was a pioneering psychologist who is generally considered to be the first to combine the multiple facets of the field under the umbrella of behaviorism. The foundation of Watson's behaviorism is the consciousness. Introspective thoughts and feelings can neither be observed nor controlled via scientific methods, and therefore should be ignored when analyzing behavior. John Watson is remembered as the first psychologist to human test subjects in experiments of classical conditioning. He is famous for the Little Albert experiment, in which he applied Pavlov's idea of classical conditioning to teach an infant to be afraid of a rat. So, si Pavlov, si Watson, siya ang unang nag-experiment sa human about sa classical conditioning. B.F. Skinner. Skinner was a psychologist who continued to influence the development of behaviorism. His most important contribution were introducing the idea of radical behaviorism and defining operant conditioning. Unlike Watson, Skinner believed that internal processes such as thoughts and emotions should be considered when analyzing behavior. The inclusion of thoughts and actions with behaviors is radical behaviorism. He believed that internal processes like observable behavior can be controlled by environmental variables and thus can be analyzed scientifically. The application of the principles of radical behaviorism is known as applied behavior analysis. In 1948, Skinner published The Behavior of Organisms, a book that introduces the principles of operant conditioning and their application to human and animal behavior. So, first, positive reinforcement is adding a positive stimulus to encourage behavior. So, positive reinforcement refers to introducing a desirable stimulus, so, such as reward to encourage the desired behavior. So, for example, child or a child, he or she is polite to a stranger, and so ang imong in return niya nimo ana sa bata is ang maghatag ka og reward tungod sa positive na behavior nga iyang gibuhat. So, escape is removing a negative stimulus to encourage behavior. So, removing a negative stimulus. So, example, negative stimulus is negative reinforcement. So, for example, sa pagkuan sa bata, gusto ni so, example, ani is ang kanang pag-remove og homework sa mga estudyante. So, for example, yung mga estudyante maghihinan niya kung sila tanan na ay good performance sa class, so dili ka makatag nila og homework. So, same as the active avoidance is preventing a negative stimulus to encourage behavior. So, parehas ni sila sa escape or avoidance. So, avoidance o mga para maka-gain ka o positive na behavior. So, next is positive punishment, is adding a negative stimulus to discourage behavior. So, example, ani is ang kanang ginabawal naman gina siya rin sa kanang mamunal ka estudyante. So, usually, ginabuhat nila is ginabawal naman gina ang mamunal rin sa mga estudyante. So, example lang ni siya. So, spanking a child. So, kanang pagbunal mo sa imong estudyante katungod niya kanang grabe kayang tantrums, grabe yung pagwald or imo siyang gikasab-an. So, Positive na siya nga punishment kay tungod sa iyahang behavior nga gibuhat nga dili maayo ang pagtantrums. And next is negative punishment is removing a positive stimulus to discourage behavior. So negative punishment, it is to remove a pleasant stimulus to decrease a behavior. So example ani niya is if your student misbehave, so imong gikuha ang kanang hindi ko ang favorite niya nga dulaan. So in this case dulaan kay, so ang dulaan was removed para ang iyang behavior ma-minus-minusan. Positive and negative reinforcements can be given according to different types of schedules. Skinner developed 5 schedules of reinforcement. So, first, continuous reinforcement is applied when the learner receives reinforcement after every specific action performed. For example, a teacher may reward a student with a sticker for each meaningful comment to the comment the student makes. And next, fixed interval reinforcement is applied when the learner receives reinforcement after a fixed amount of time has passed. For example, a teacher may give out stickers each Friday to students who made comments throughout the week. So, variable interval reinforcement is applied when the learner receives reinforcement after a random amount of time has passed. So, example, a teacher may give out stickers on a random day each week to students who have actively participated in classroom discussion. Fourth, fixed ratio reinforcement is applied when the learner receives reinforcement after the behavior occurs a set of number of times. So, example, a teacher may reward a student with a sticker after the student contributes 5 meaningful comments. And the last variable ratio reinforcement is applied when the learner receives reinforcement after the behavior occurs a random number of times. So, example, a teacher may reward a student with a sticker after the student contributes 3 to 10 meaningful comments. So, every reward nga ginahatan nato sa mga student is na sila specific na reinforcement na gitawag. So, these are the 5 reinforcement: continuous reinforcement, fixed interval reinforcement, variable interval reinforcement, fixed ratio reinforcement, and the last, variable ratio reinforcement. So, Skinner gave examples of steps teachers should take to teach properly. So, a few of these steps include the following: ensure the learner clearly understands the action or performance. So, as a teacher, dapat yun ginapasabot yun nato sa mga bata ato ang ilang mga action na gibuhat nga ilang i-perform. So, separate the task into small steps starting at simple and working out the complex. So, di kita pwede nga mo tudlo ta diretso sa itong mga batang kanang diretso ta so step by step. So, learning takes time. Let the learner perform each step, reinforcing correct actions. So, sa every step na makuan na to sa makatunan sa mga estudyante, ato na po reinforce of sakto po nga reinforcement. Regulate so that the learner is always successful until finally the goal is reached. So i-guide yun na ito ang mga estudyante nga para magkaton sila o para ma-reach na ito itong goal nila. Dapat sila matunan sa mga itong klase. Change to random reinforcement to maintain the learner's performance. So, dili po tingon nga permente ang atong reinforcement nila is maura. So, dapat po na ay kanang changes para po murag makuan sila ng ma-challenge po. Dili ingon every action na icon. So, dapat po na magka-level up pa datong reinforcement since magka-level up ang panang ilang pagsagot. And that's all for my report. Thank you.